What's up, world? It's your girl, Rich Love Society, and you are tuning into 953 Jams. This is the testimony, and we have T.F.Jess all the way from South Carolina in the H. What's up, girl?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for making sure that you stopped in to show some support to 953 Jams. So I just want to know, like, how long have you been doing this? What is your goal for creating music? Just let me know a little bit more about you.
Okay, well, I've been recording and performing for about 2 years now. I've started my own label about a year ago called Colossal Entertainment. I've been writing since high school, so I'm in it for the long haul, for life.
I'm just a little curious. What were you writing about in high school?
Oh, well, in high school we had a class called creative writing, so I wrote more poetry in high school.
What was your poetry like?
I like a nice standard cadence. Usually it was about my life. I was a military child, so I moved around a lot.
What are some of the places that you went to?
Ooh.
Or that you lived?
I lived in Okinawa, Japan for about 3 years.
Oh,
and
what was that like?
That was really, that was super dope. They had a lot of entertainment over there. They had basketball, they had music, models, stores, everything. You go off Gate 2 Street and it's just full of shopping. You get a couple bucks from your mom and it's a good day.
Would you say that that's your favorite place that you lived?
It's either between that and 29 Palms, California. I lived in Cali for a while too. I lived there for about 2 years, and I like it out there just because the beaches alone. I like water.
Me too. There's something really transformational about water. Just the fact that it's just flowing and then the sounds of the waves. I can't tell you how many times I've fallen asleep by a beach
Good place to write.
because of the water. Yeah, that is a good place to write.
Very good place.
Where do you pull from when you write?
Usually from experience. I like to write about things that I've actually done or been through. I'm starting to get more into more conscious music. I'm like a psychology major, so therefore I'm into psychology in the brain, so I like to make people's brains work when they listen to my music as well. And I'm witty. I like to be funny and catchy and all of the above.
All of the above. Okay, so psychology major.
That's fine.
What made you want to do that?
A lot. My childhood, especially. I wanted to learn why people do the things that they do, why they respond the way that they respond, and why they don't choose to respond the way that you think that they would respond. So once I took a few beginners classes in junior college, I moved up and then I went on to psychology and I started taking more intermediate to advanced classes. And then once I transferred to Clemson, that was my major.
Yeah, that's something that I've seen many people speak about. Mental health, especially in the African American community.
Huge issue.
And we need people that look like us.
Yep.
I mean, I've had therapists that didn't look like me they helped me,
Mm-hmm.
but my therapist for the last decade plus is an African American woman, and I don't know what I'll do when she's not doing what she does anymore.
Yeah.
So we do need more people that look like us doing that.
We do.
What specifically are you planning to do with that degree? Are you going to do therapy, or what is your focus?
Well, after I get my entertainment label to take off, get real big in music, I want to get my master's, and I want to start a psychiatry practice for teenagers that deal with PTSD from their childhood. That's my main goal, is kids, teenagers mainly, help them get into college and stuff.
Is there something that you went through growing up that makes this such a important factor?
Yeah, definitely. I went through a lot as a kid, and growing up, being a military kid, moving around every 3 years, you never really solidified friends or relationships. So definitely going into psychology had a lot to do with my own childhood, but My main focus is to help kids like me that don't really have help that I didn't have.
So this is a testimony. I'm gonna ask you, what is something that you went through in life that you didn't think that you could make it through, that you made it through?
Homelessness. I was homeless for a while, but through the power of prayer, a lot of people don't think that you're spiritual or you believe in God just because you don't push the agenda as much as others do. But homelessness and the power of prayer got me through that one for sure.
Can you speak more into how that came about?
Yeah. Actually, I was. I'm a lesbian. I like women. My parents, they split, and my parents' spouses didn't approve of my choices. Therefore, at a young age, I was alienated, and instead of being around toxic, I left. I'd rather be homeless than be called,
Wow.
crazy things. So I just rather leave, and I left, and I'm who I am now.
So there's something really powerful and freeing when people are not as if they're able to be free and be themselves, but when they choose that and make that happen. And I think now society is getting to a place where even if we don't agree, just let me be, And I think that is also something that a lot of parents, even though the world is changing, same-sex marriage, we're moving in a certain direction, but it's not there, because we have people that are still stuck in the way it was before.
Right.
And so they can't really grasp what's happening now. What would you say to someone, because I know someone specifically, she's very young, and her parents have, told her to leave, and that whole thing, they do not accept it. And so she feels like she's not loved. What would you say to someone right now that's thinking, I want to leave home, I'd rather be homeless? What would you say to someone that's not being accepted and that maybe doesn't like themselves because of their sexuality? What would you say to kind of inspire them to move forward?
Well, in my opinion, I think that, most quote-unquote demons are the ones that we hold ourselves. So I think it's more pertinent for you to be comfortable with who you are than who everybody else wants you to be, because at the end of the day, you have to live with you. Nobody else does. And that was my mindset, depending on circumstances and situations, I would advise, if you're in a toxic situation, the best thing to do is reach out and move along, because, I tried, for about six to 10 years to please, my parents, and it was never pleasing. So that's, 10 years of my life that I wasted. So it's to me, I don't see it being worth it. My 10 years, I could have been doing a whole lot more with music, with my family, with things that actually mattered, but instead I was chasing love from people that didn't want to give it to me. So I would say focus on yourself for sure, because nobody else is going to.
Right. What is the relationship like now?
I don't talk to either of my parents still.
Wow. And there's a lot of people that need to hear that story.
Oh yeah.
Because there is no curriculum. They don't teach you how to just love people unconditionally. There's only one place where you're guaranteed to get that. And I just really commend you. And I know that comes across in your music, just there being no bounds, being unstoppable. When I hear your music, that's what I hear is strength. You don't have to love me, but I'm still gonna do what I love.
Oh yeah, definitely. Music is a big help for me as well. I do a lot of writing, and I have a lot of I've written a lot about my family situations and stuff, but it's almost been how they say that the African American community is afraid to speak out about depression. And for a while I was, and now I'm not. So I have music coming about my family and a lot of the things that I've been through. So that's probably something to look forward to as well.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited to hear about that. And there have been many celebrities, one of my favorites, Taraji P. Henson, did an interview with Self where she spoke about not wanting to leave her house and being depressed, and how, of course, as we know, African American community,
Oh, yeah.
we kind of, she had an uncle that was, something was going on with him, and people used to just joke and just say, oh, he's just crazy, but people, just because we're African American doesn't mean we don't have issues, and we
Right.
don't need help, and we don't need someone to talk to, and we don't need people to go get psychology degrees, and that's just, it's changing, but it's not quite
It's too
there
slow.
yet.
It's way too slow. There's so many issues that we have, but not enough resources to successfully accommodate everybody. And I think if we could, that would be a huge thing. But yeah, the Taraji P. Henson, I believe she was agoraphobic for a while because of it, and that's just upsetting. That everybody around, people, you have that person in your life, and people don't want to turn that person in. They just want to continue to say that, oh, that's just how he is. Well, no, you're still a burden, and you could be doing the same thing to somebody else. And people just accept that to happen, especially in the Black community.
Man, and one thing that she said that was very powerful in that interview is about, and I was like, when I watched it, I was like fighting back tears. And I'm not a very emotional person because of things that I've gone through in my life, but I was agoraphobic. I didn't fly for about 8 years. I lived near like the Katy area. I couldn't get past 610 and 59. I couldn't ride on elevators, and I didn't know what was wrong with me. And my therapist, she kind of told me, but she didn't want to freak me out. And now that I've gotten past it, like last year I went to LA, this year I went to, at the end of last year I went to Miami, I never thought I would be able to do that. So to hear someone else that looks like me speak about something, I didn't know what agoraphobia was until I realized I don't want to leave my house. I didn't want to be too far from where I live. And I can't explain why, but I think a lot of it is PTSD, which is why I think that that's so powerful that you want to focus into like the youth, because these kids are going through so many things, and it's like not even really a big deal anymore. Like if a school shooting happened, like Columbine back in the day, it was on the news for months, like it was a huge deal.
Oh, yeah.
Now it happens and it's like that day, if it even hits the headlines, and it depends on the area and what those people look like, of how much the media is going to cover it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so normal. So what do you think needs to be done as far as like these kids going to school that are learning, I don't know what they call it, but if anything like a school shooting, they have like
drills and
drills.
stuff.
Like, what is that?
To me, I think that if a school shooting occurs, it's a student that comes back and shoots up the school. So the same training that you're giving the kids in school, you're giving the same training to that little kid that's going to come back and shoot up the school. So he knows exactly what you're going to do, or she knows exactly what's going to happen. So I don't think it's null and void. It's redundant. It doesn't need to happen.
What do you think that that's doing to their mental state to know that they may go to school?
Right. It's just letting kids know that there's possible danger. And I mean, remember in the drills, I'm pretty sure you just went to the hallway and like covered yourself up or something, unless it was a shoot, you went to a classroom. I mean, that's what you're expected to do anyway. You don't need a drill for that. Like, I think maybe it could possibly help if children actually knew what to expect when it was to occur. Because you don't know what to expect when it is to occur. They basically say, okay, well, we're just going to do this drill. It's a fire drill. It's a tornado drill. And then you just do the drill, then you go back to class. You don't really know what to expect, even in a tornado drill. Like, I didn't know what a tornado was going to do to me if I was in school. Just like a kid doesn't know what a shooter's going to do to you till you're a victim.
I know, and I think even if they do, I do think that there does need to be some form of gun reform. I don't know if we need to just take them away. I'm like completely against that. But I do think that it needs to be some type of stipulations for people that are getting these guns, But on the other hand, somebody could stab you to death. Like you don't need a gun, but the the assault rifles, like the amount of damage that can be done in like that much time.
Oh yeah. I
That
believe,
that's a problem.
as far as I know, I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure they stopped the making of AR assault rifle, AR-15s and such because
Maybe they
of that.
stopped the legal.
Yeah, yeah. I think they only do it for military now, but I mean that doesn't stop it from getting onto the streets still.
Right.
So, I mean, as far as gun reform, I believe that there should be one in place, but to be able to purchase a firearm on the streets is probably cheaper and more efficient than going to a
Right.
store and showing your ID and doing all of that stuff.
The background and there's so much that needs to be changed, but I really applaud you for going and putting yourself in a position to where those changes can happen. And I want to get into the TTG.
Okay.
I think that that's my favorite song.
That is a good one. That is a
Yeah.
good one. Very fun to make. Very fun to make. I wrote it all in a day, recorded it all in a day. Very fun.
And what's the storyline behind it? Where were you mentally where you just knew?
Well, funny story. When I was in college, I did some things in college, and I'm not afraid to admit it because I mean you can go on Google and look it up. I did get indicted for selling marijuana. So this mixtape, this particular Blue Dreams mixtape, basically is my whole indictment, my whole everything that's happened from there. Which is my next mixtape is going to be everything that's happened since then.
Wow.
So, I mean, TTG was basically trained to go. Like, I'm ready for it any day, every day.
You gotta be ready. So I'm gonna get that one on first. Anything
Okay.
else you wanna say about that song before we play it?
Oh, no. Listen, enjoy. Love it. I do.
All right, this is T.F.Jess with Train to Go.